and welcome to the Retro Odyssey podcast. I'm your host, Steven, and with me as always is Matt. How's it going, Matt?
Not bad, thanks. How are you?
I've been all right. We've been sick over here the past couple of weeks. So, I was starting to feel a little bit sick around Christmas time, and then it was like the day after Christmas, it just kind of hit me like a wall, and I slept for 3 days. And then, of course, everyone else here got it. We think it came from my wife's job, but it's whatever. We're getting better. Other than that, not a whole lot to speak of.
Weirdly enough, I woke up on Christmas Eve with a cold. That only lasted for about 3 days. By Boxing Day, the cold was gone.
Mm-hmm.
And then the following week, I had a cough for like the whole week. And it's only just gone in like the past few days.
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of people I know over here that have been sick.
But we're well now, and that's what matters.
Yeah, I'm well enough to work, which is
Yeah.
But I did play. I actually played a fair few games this month. I was still playing a lot of Final Fantasy XIV right after the last episode. Mainly working on leveling jobs and just kind of doing some basic running around and building up tombstones for gear for my classes. I've fallen off a little bit just because I've gotten back into playing some other games. When they announced the sequel to Hades, I started playing that one again. Still a very, very good game. I'm excited to see what they can do with the sequel.
Now that you've actually finished,
I haven't.
Shadowbringers.
Oh yeah.
What were your thoughts on that?
Oh, I love it. Like it. I was very, very into Heavensward, and I'm still running around with one of the titles from Heavensward, and Shadowbringers was a very similar feeling, where the land and the people and everything just really connected for me. For me, Ishgard and I forgot the
first.
Yeah, the first. So for me, both of those are just like very, very well realized settings, and they told excellent stories in them. And I mean, I don't want to bag on, Realm Reborn and Stormblood, because Stormblood I think was still very good. But I mean, you're talking about Heavensward won a lot of awards for a reason, and Shadowbringers was on par or better than Heavensward. So,
and
yeah.
Honestly, Endwalker knocks it out of the park. Is that's even like a notch higher than Shadowbringers. Endwalker is.
And from the little I know, and I actually haven't really had anything spoiled for me. I mean, you said it was basically the end of the narrative that was started with Realm Reborn.
Yeah.
So there's, I've heard there's a lot of things connecting back to, previous chunks of the game, and like I am all about that kind of storytelling. Like, I always really, really enjoy when you put something out and then use some of that as a setup for something further down the line. I am looking forward to it. I just have to get my jobs geared up, and apparently I need to level up one more, since I was told the role quests were split differently in Endwalker, and I'm going to need a ranged physical DPS.
Yeah. Ranged physical and ranged are two different ones.
Mm.
Um, in this, uh, do Dancer. Dancer's awesome.
Well, I actually really like the Machinist. I just hadn't spent a lot of time leveling it before.
Mm.
Um, but I mean, the Machinist, especially because I've, from what I'm been told that later on they get the tools from Final Fantasy VI, like the air anchor and the. I'm pretty sure they get the air anchor, but I know I found out that they get that those tools are in the kit. I was like, wait, really? Because the character that's a machinist in six is one of my favorites, and I've done a little bit of dungeon running with the machinist, not with people, just with the duty support and the squadrons. But people always say every class is viable, and it is. Um, so I think there's going to be something to enjoy with almost all of them.
Yeah. I mean, there's only like a very small amount of classes I don't actually like.
Hmm.
Like Monk, I don't like. Black Mage, I don't like, and Astrologian, I don't like. The rest are pretty much fine. I only really play Dancer though now.
Yeah, I I would not be able to handle Black Mage because I move way too much.
Hmm.
Um, honestly, like I almost wish that they had done more limited classes than just the Blue Mage because it feels weird to have just the one class that's different like that. Because
Yeah,
usually I really like Blue Mages, um, and like the enemy skill materia in seven was one of my favorite things. But with the Blue Mage, it's a little rougher to get into just because you have to either track down all this stuff or have somebody walk you through it. And then even once you do get it leveled up, you can basically just do dungeon runs with other blue mages.
yeah. It is fast to level up though if you use the guide.
Yeah, it's just a matter of finding the uh, the right creatures. Which, when I unlocked the class, I didn't have access to a lot of them, or I didn't know that I did. Um, so I think once I finish Endwalker, I'll go back and start working on that and some of the other classes I've kind of left behind. But yeah, I mean, apart from those, I started playing the Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle, the first one, because it's a game that I've been wanting to play since it came out, and then I bought it like 6 months ago and still didn't play it. I actually am enjoying that one because a stripped down version of XCOM that's very easy and quick to blast through is it's kind of exactly what I need sometimes.
Yeah.
Like you still have the tactical combat, but it's much more simplified. You have either 100% to hit, 50% to hit, or 0%. There's none of this, shotgun at point blank range has a 98% and misses.
Hmm.
So that one's fun. I played a little bit more Fire Emblem. Honestly, I played a lot more Fire Emblem Heroes, the mobile game, just kind of working through those stories. I've only got one left because they just released another story campaign. Oh, and I did pick up Pokemon Violet.
All right.
So I was playing that and playing Pokemon got me back a little bit into Pokemon Legends Arceus, just working on some of the post game stuff and finishing more lists in that one. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's everything I've played. But yeah, so what all have you been playing?
I have played like precisely 2 games, pretty much. I mentioned last time that I'd started playing like Guild Wars 2,
Hmm.
and I've pretty much done nothing but play Guild Wars 2 since then. I bought like all the expansions, all the additional story content that they've got on the microtransaction store, and I am now on the final expansion.
Okay.
Um, it is all I've been playing. It's kind of like completely taken over my life, and yeah, I am loving it. It is a really really solid MMO. Um, I'll have to put it down in a week because the new Final Fantasy 14 patch comes out in a week.
Ah,
But
right.
yeah, I am really really loving it, and it's kind of like exploded in popularity this year with the release of the new expansion. And there's always like huge amounts of people around if you're trying to do events and stuff like that. I've not really done any dungeons, raid content, stuff like that. Um, but Guild Wars 2 really shines in open world content. Basically, you know how you kind of like have the fates in Final Fantasy 14? Imagine that, but massively expanded. Events like link into each other. Each map will have its own series of events that
Hmm.
culminate in kind of like a big boss fight at the end. Some of which like take dozens and dozens of players to take down, um, as well as like all these other little events popping up, and they the events actually mean something as well because say you've got an event where these enemies are kind of like attacking this like friendly keep. If the event fails, then the enemies will like take that over, and you'll lose access to like all the merchants, etc., stuff that was in that particular keep until they're able to like mount a counter offensive, and there's another event to kind of like try and take that back, um, stuff like that. But it is really really good. The story's really good. Um, it's like fully voice acted as well, which is really good. Um, yeah, enjoying it a hell of a lot.
That's good. I've heard a lot of good things about Guild Wars too.
Especially this year, it's kind of like jumped up in popularity quite a bit. I'm not entirely sure why, but it's different to a lot of the other ones on the market because it focuses more on horizontal progression rather than vertical progression. Like the level cap is 80, but you reach that in the base game, and all of the expansions haven't increased that level cap. It's just you get additional stuff that's exclusive to each expansion, like certain mounts, certain skills, certain abilities that you level up through those expansions rather than leveling up your character itself. And then you can use those skills abilities in all the other content as well. Everything is synced to your level. So you can like start the game, do a level boost and jump into the expansion, and then you can go back and do the very first bits in the game and you will be level appropriate for all that stuff. Um, yeah, it does it in a really really interesting way, and I'll probably keep playing that for quite a long time. Aside from that, the only other thing I've played really is the new DLC content for Vampire Survivors. Um, it's got like a new map, well, a couple new maps actually, a load of new characters, a load of new weapons, items. Um, so I went on, got all of that unlocked, got back to 100% again. Um, really, really nice stuff in that expansion. Even though it's only one map, it is unlike the other maps in the game. This isn't kind of like a infinite scroll kind of map. There are actually locations on the map that you can go to, and there are different things to do on each part of the map. so it doesn't feel like the previous maps, and all new characters decent as well. Decent new weapons, decent new items. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. But after I got to 100%, I've not touched it. I just went back to Guild Wars 2, and that is pretty much all I've been playing.
Yeah, I heard the DLC content for Vampire Survivors was a little bit different. I haven't had a chance to check it out myself, um, but it's I think I don't remember if it was Laura or Steph Sterling that was saying that the new levels are seemingly designed to highlight the new weapons and kind of push you to use them and figure out what they can do.
I don't know. I mean, I went in with onto the new map with new characters, with their starting weapon, which is one of the new ones, but the other five weapons were just standard weapons, and I didn't have any issue doing it with like standard weapons. But there are some interesting like combinations with the new weapons as well. It's just more Vampire Survivors. Like it doesn't feel like you need to focus on a certain build or anything like that. Like
Okay.
every build you put together is going to be viable if you know what you're doing. In unless you like purposefully pick stuff that definitely doesn't work together.
And the whole expansion kind of has a like a feudal Japan theme, doesn't it?
Yes.
Which I think that's an interesting idea of every expansion having, basically the same gameplay but with a different kind of flavor. Because I know the base game, a lot of it is Italian inspired.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's very much Castlevania in inspired, which is kind of like based on that whole Roman kind of feel. You've got like the Medusas, you've got the all that stuff like that.
Right, and so many of the names are Italian.
Italian and Greek, I'd say the first part.
Yeah, I'm interested to check that out. Just have to get around to it. So if that's everything we've played, do we have any news we especially need to go over?
There's a couple little bits. Nothing really particular major, but Gran Turismo's getting a movie.
So I saw an article that said the Gran Turismo movie has real cars that look more fake than the cars in the game. I don't remember where it was from, but I've seen a couple of articles come up about the Gran Turismo movie. I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
I mean, the interesting thing for me is that it's being directed by like Neil Blomkamp, who always does really interesting films. And it says on the poster, based on the true story of an impossible dream. I don't really know. I mean, Gran Turismo wasn't based on the true story, so I mean, it's literally a racing game.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's got even less story than other racing games, which is saying something.
But yeah, that is meant to be coming out in August.
Oh wow, okay.
The other news I've got, the Switch has now officially surpassed Game Boy sales numbers.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yep, it is. I mean, the Game Boy was at 118 million, and the Nintendo Switch has just gone past that mark as of January this year.
Now, does that number include Game Boy Pocket, Game Boy Color?
Yes.
Okay.
It says the original DMG, Game Boy Pocket, and Game Boy Color shared sales numbers.
Okay. So that's probably going to be fourth or fifth on the console sales list.
Well, it is third, I think.
Oh, okay.
PlayStation 2 is 155 million. Nintendo DS is 154. And Switch is currently at 118, just under 119.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it had already passed the Wii.
Yeah, yeah. Despite how much people knock it, it is a really, really, really popular console.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's the only system I have that I would say is a straight up improvement on the Switch is the Steam Deck, and that's only because it's just a computer.
Yeah.
Like it's PC gaming on a handheld. But yeah, I mean the Switch is it's a hell of a console, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they do going forward. Especially because I saw an article. I want to say it was something about either a game company or a tech company basically confirmed that there was going to be an upgraded Switch halfway through,
Yeah.
and then the chip shortages caused them to pull the plug on it. So I'm interested to see what the next one is.
They want to update it because the launch edition is super easy to hack. And they can't really patch that out
Well,
without making a lot of the software unusable.
they have, so they fixed that uh for hardware revisions. So I want to say it goes up to like 6 to 8 months after launch, and then after that they had, or maybe it was a little bit longer than that. But I know the Switch OLED doesn't have it, and um, when the boxes changed from the original to the red box, that was a hardware revision that closed that vulnerability.
But the trouble is, those same that same software still runs on that day one Switch,
Yes.
and this is why the biggest Switch games are ending up with PC ports like pretty much the same day as they come out on Switch.
Sometimes before.
Because yeah, and running better as well.
I mean, like, and I will fully admit I have taken some of my Switch cartridges, dumped the games, and put them on my Steam Deck. Because, why not? I can have the entire Metroid series on one device. I mean, I already own all the games, so usually it's a simple enough process to, dump the game files and install it. So, yeah, I mean, I don't like the, some of the negative things that can come out of having a vulnerability like that. But I think in terms of preservation, the ability to easily dump games and whatnot is good.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't think there's a massive modding scene for Switch, but if there was going to be any kind of modding scene, it would, it would be very beneficial to be able to easily get the games off of there. But I mean, that's a whole can of worms that I think somebody is. I don't remember if. I don't think the guy that found it went to jail. I think Nintendo just sued him and got some money out of him. But yeah, that I know it's a sore spot for Nintendo, but I mean, it's at this point, what's done is done. Like,
yeah, they're not going to be able to sort it until they release like a sequel console.
Yeah. Eventually, we'll get to a point where most of the people that have Switches don't have launch day Switches.
Yeah.
So eventually, it won't even be an issue.
and then I will then sell mine for a massive profit.
Yeah.
But the very last piece of news I've got is Atari are releasing 3 new consoles.
Oh, jeez.
You have the Atari arcade micro player. It's like one of those little handheld. You know the things that look like mini arcade cabinets.
Yeah.
They're like really really difficult to play because they've got really tiny screens. Well, they've got one of them coming. And I'm personally not particularly interested in that. I think they're mostly just used for display more than actually playing games. But they also have a handheld system called the Arcade Atari Pocket Player, and they have released something similar to this before. They released a handheld a few years ago, which had like the wood effect. I can't remember what it was called, but this looks very much like the same thing. It's a nice looking little handheld system, and it's going to, well, they haven't really announced much of what's going to be on it. So we don't know how many games it's going to have, stuff like that. They've literally just released pictures and not much else at the minute. We don't even know the prices. But they've got those two, and they have a TV console as well, which is very pretty, very pretty. It is called the My Arcade Atari Game Station Plus, and it's very nice, little sleek design. It looks really small. A really nice redesign of the original Atari joystick as well. And this is going to be it's going to include a collection of games from the 2600, 7800, and the arcade. And it's these should all be coming out. I would have thought this year because they've announced it for now. But like I said, aside from pictures and the names, they've not really released much in the way of info. But I would be surprised if it didn't come out this year.
Yeah, I don't know. After the last one, they got everyone excited about, and then it turned out to just be a, not as good mini PC. I'm gonna wait and see how these turn out before I look into them.
Oh yeah, I mean the Atari VCS just did not do well. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Like, especially the TV console looks very, very nice. And it might be worth getting just for those joysticks. The joysticks are gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
But that is all of the news.
Okay, well, if that's all we have, I think we'll take a quick break and then come back with our topic for the episode.
Okay.
So, our topic for this episode, since we are in the depths of winter, kind of, we figured we'd do an episode on winter games. So we've touched on this a couple of times. It's a very arcadey genre, so it's not something that we really go back to often. But the first one we're talking about today is Winter Challenge. This came out in 1991.
Yep, 91 on MS-DOS, and then it got a Genesis port in 92.
Okay. Yeah, the Genesis version is the one that I played.
Yeah, I played the DOS version.
This one, it's pretty simple, as evidenced by the fact that it was on DOS. But you've got a list of 8 events that you can choose from. There are luge, downhill skiing, cross country skiing, bobsled, speed skating, giant slalom, biathlon, and ski jump. And they're like very basic representations. Usually it's you push forward or hit A to start moving, and then you move left and right. Sometimes there's other things like the biathlon is a combination of skiing and target shooting. So you've got a little bit more to look at there. The speed skating is you basically tap the button to accelerate, and then you have to navigate around the rink. They're all pretty quick runs. I mean, you can finish an event in less than 10 minutes, and they all work decently. I wasn't terribly good at it, but it's it wasn't horrible. Like it didn't feel terrible to play. It largely made sense with the controls.
Yeah, for the most part, like it is quite simple. Like you said, in its control schemes. Each one has slightly different controls, but you can figure them out pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But you can create your own character, and I was representing France. You can choose your the character that you want to play as, choose a country, stuff like that. Um, Personally, I have to question France's selection process because I don't know how they let someone like me into these Olympic Games. Maybe they thought I had a twin brother or something who was actually good at this stuff, but they put me in, and I didn't get a single medal. I actually did 3 tournaments. I didn't get a single medal in any of them. Um, and I was absolutely the wrong choice to represent France in this Olympic Games because I was not very good at all.
Yeah, I did. I was doing the training mode just to kind of see what it was without the pressure of actually competing, and I crashed a lot. It was yeah, like you said, it's not very good. The luge and the speed skating are the ones that I came the closest with. Oh no, I think I did actually finish downhill skiing a couple of times. But yeah, I mean they're quick little games. I mean they're not badly made, so it's like I said, it doesn't feel terrible to play, which given, the when it was released, that's somewhat impressive.
Yeah, I mean there are a lot of these type of games like these Olympic game compilation kind of things. I'm sure with like a bit of practice, you'd actually be able to get better at these and start placing in games. But in terms of kind of like pick up and play, something like California games is a lot more user friendly. Um, that you can actually get a grip of a lot faster. It's a lot easier to get high scores. It's more arcadey than this is.
Hmm.
Um, Whereas this I think was kind of like going for a slightly more realistic kind of feel to it, despite the simple controls. Um, you can tell just from the presentation and the graphics that they were trying to go for something that was a little bit more serious
Hmm.
and simulation like. Um, which some people are after that in their games. I would have preferred like a bit more of the like arcade sensibilities in this. But there are like I said other games that do that.
Right.
But this is fine, and it's nice to look at as well. Like the graphics are decent for the time. I was quite impressed by the animations as well. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know how it looked on the Genesis, but on DOS it looked decent.
So it honestly it reminded me a lot of games like Pole Position, it wasn't as smooth as a modern game would be. It was kind of like, you as you're going down, you just slowly see objects start populating. I think this is the kind of game that back in, 91, 92, if this was one of 4 games that you had, you could get a fair bit out of it. Just because, once you, like you said, once you play it enough, you'll get the hang of it and be able to do well. I mean, that's why I can whoop just about anybody I know in Mario Tennis, because I played it so much. So I think this is definitely, like, in that regard, I think this is definitely a game of its era, where, back then you weren't buying, 12 games a year. You were buying like 3. It's one that you definitely can get a lot of gameplay out of, but it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't stack up to a lot of similar games, just because, you've got games that came out later and have, that are a little more intuitive or a little more user friendly. But I mean, I didn't hate it. I just wasn't good at it.
Yeah. Same. I mean, it was a perfectly pleasant experience. I was just really, really bad at it.
Yeah.
But it did, like I say, it did look nice. Played okay.
I think the audio was pretty nice as well.
Well, and I did the Mega Drive version have music during the events, because the DOS version didn't?
I don't know if it had music. I know, and I didn't have my volume up for a lot of the time, but I know there were sound effects, because I remember being surprised that they had that they actually had sound effects for, like, the skiing and the skating.
Yeah.
You could easily see a game like this at that time being just, pushed out in, a couple of months.
It appeared to have been made by 2 guys as well.
Yeah. And it, just happened that they put more effort in than a lot of people at the time did.
But I don't know if it would be difficult for you to try and get an original DOS copy of this working.
Yeah.
But it can be played online in a browser, which is how I played it. I know that didn't work for you, and you had to get the Genesis version.
Yeah.
But it may be browser dependent. It worked for me on Chrome.
Well, I was using Chrome too. I know it also may have just been my computer not loading. But yeah, when I pulled it up, I just had a black screen. It never actually loaded in the game. But that that could have been any number of things. So I would if somebody wants to check out a game with these kinds of events in it, and get that, I guess you would say, nostalgic experience of how games were back then, this is perfectly fine and worth seeking out, especially since you can, like you said, you can play it in a browser for free.
Yeah. At some point, we will have to play California games as well. That is one that I grew up with. It's a lot more arcadey kind of thing. Obviously, it's not Olympic kind of thing. You've got stuff like skateboarding and hacky sack and stuff like that. But it's a similar kind of concept, which, we need to put that in at some point.
Yeah, I don't think I've played that one.
It is one of my most played games on the Master System when I was a kid.
Okay.
It was on the Mega Drive as well.
I think that's about all we have for this one. Good enough. Check it out if you're interested. I can't imagine it's very expensive to get a Genesis copy if you've got a system. It didn't seem like a game that was in high demand. But yeah, so we'll take a short break and come back with our second game.
Okay.
So, our second game is one that, if you are over a certain age and had a computer in your house as a kid, you probably have played it. It's called Ski Free. It was a game made for Windows 3.0, and I think it was included in Microsoft Entertainment Pack 3. I played this a lot as a kid. I did not have Microsoft Entertainment Pack 3. Um, by the time I got around to messing with computers, we were on Windows 95, and I think it was just on there. But this one is actually, now that I've played both, it's not too dissimilar from Horace Goes Skiing in that it's a very simple little game. You have a seemingly infinite slope to ski down, and then you have three different paths: one for a slalom track, one for freestyle to just go down the mountain however, and then the last one is tree slalom, which is a little harder than the regular slalom. It actually controls pretty decently. I know the game itself recommends you use the number pad, and that all works fine. Using the numbers gives you the diagonals to work with, which can help with turning. And probably the most recognizable part of this game is the abominable snowman who pops up after you've gone 2,000 meters and eats the player character. And like, you cannot escape. This is a thing that I think most people who have played this game will remember, is trying to get away from that thing, because like, I don't want to say it's terrifying, but it's definitely, when you see it pop up and just take you out over and over and over again, it's a little disheartening. So as you go down the slope, there's some jumping. There's some ramps you can use for jumps. There are trees in the way, big trees, small trees, dead trees. There are other. So I know there's snowboarders. I think there's other people on skis.
There is, yes.
And then there's tree stumps and big rocks and dogs. And just, various things you need to avoid. And for as simple as it is, it's oddly compelling. Which I don't remember exactly, but I think I said the same thing about Horace.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I mean, I know this is one that like you grew up with. Horace is one that I grew up with, so I personally prefer Horace to this, like, quite a bit. Maybe it's kind of like different for you. This I found a little difficult to control. I crashed into a lot of trees, and I mostly play. I played a couple games with the mouse, and I used the number pad. The mouse feels really, really awkward to control it with. I definitely recommend using the number pad. Either one, I would say, didn't feel particularly right and responsive to me. As much as kind of like Horace does. I know Horace, you've only got left and right. You don't really have anything else, so that's probably why. And plus, it is kind of like a decade older, so it's like a lot more simplistic.
Right.
But yeah, the controls were the main issue for me in this.
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly how I felt at the time, but I know when I started playing this for this episode and got back into it, um, like I very quickly realized that trying to actually do the slalom wasn't a good idea because it was just I was just not getting around. It's a lot more fun to just go down the slope and try to weave between trees and stuff.
Yeah, if you don't go through one of the flags at the start, then you can just go however you want. It kind of like enters like a free mode,
Yeah.
kind of.
So that's where a lot of my time with this game came from. I'm almost certain that's how it was when I was a kid, is just going down over and over again, not bothering with the actual slalom, just because the slalom is a trickier to do, and there's only so much distance you can go anyway.
But you did say that it felt kind of like seemingly infinite, and it actually is. Um, it loops from the start again after 2,048 meters. So it does literally continue going in like an infinite loop. If like, I mean, the snowman's going to come after you after 2,000 meters, but
Yeah.
if you find a way to get away from that, then it will just continually loop.
Hmm.
Graphically, it's quite simplistic, but it does have a certain charm to it. Like the snowman is essentially just a grey blob with stick limbs.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cute actually, despite the fact that it will devour you. It's kind of a cute little abominable snowman,
Yeah.
and it is very simple graphically, which I think is kind of what you want in a game like this where you're having to dodge multiple obstacles. You don't want it to be too busy.
Right. And what they do have, they make pop with the bright colors,
Yeah.
and it again, the same way I feel about the game itself, simple but compelling. And I mean, it's the developer Chris Piri, not sure how to pronounce that, but he had made a game similar to this before that was just called Ski, that was basically just ASCII. Like the carrots were trees and there were slashes that represented the skis as you went down. That might be why this feels a little bit better than you would expect, just because it or why it looks a little bit better than you expect, because he already had the base concept worked out. He just had to make it better.
In fact, he didn't actually intend for this to be released. He was working at Microsoft at the time, and he was just putting this together like in his spare time, just as kind of like a test of his programming skills. And one of his bosses walked past his screen, saw him playing the game, and was like, "That's going into the entertainment pack." So it ended up like accidentally in the entertainment pack, but he didn't actually intend for this to have a commercial release.
I mean, that's there's plenty of games with that kind of story behind them.
Mm.
Um, but yeah, and then I think, was it 2 or 3 years later? Oh no, never mind. It was 2005. So 10 years later, he found the source code again and made a 32-bit version that he put up on his website for free. Let's see if the website works. Hey,
His website does work, and it does indeed have a download for the 32-bit EXE,
nice.
as well as links to how you can play it. And yeah, you can. His website's actually a pretty interesting read. Talks all about the making of the game and the history and stuff like that.
Okay.
It is ski.ihoc.net.
Yeah.
And it is called the most officialist ski-free homepage. And it looks basic as shit, but it is actually his official page for the game.
Yeah, I mean this does look like a page designed by somebody that was working on computers in 1991.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just, it's kind of a cool little thing. Well, one of the things I've always found interesting is um that it actually tracks your height to a degree. So like there's ski lifts going by, and if you're on the ground, you can pass underneath them, but if you're in the air from a jump, you will crash into them.
I did not know that.
Yeah, it's something I discovered by accident. Um, and I mean it maybe I just, missed a hitbox when I was on the ground, but I definitely crashed into it when I was on the jump.
So you've got like low ski lifts, you've got dogs, you've got a load of other people on the slopes, you've got abominable snowman. Who is managing this ski resort?
Right?
Like this is like the absolute worst ski resort, man. Like what why would anyone ski here?
Bet you the snow's not even real.
But like the one of the most interesting things for me about this game is the fact that it ended up on the Game Boy Color, which you wouldn't expect a Microsoft Windows compilation to be on Game Boy Color, but there is one, and it's got this in it.
Yeah.
It is the best of Microsoft Entertainment Pack,
Yes.
and this is in it, and it's just wild to me that such a thing would be on the Game Boy Color, and I had no idea that it existed until we started looking at this game.
Yeah. Like I could buy that somebody would have put a game like this on the Game Boy. I didn't think that like actual Ski Free was on Game Boy Color.
Yeah, I'm just looking at how much it actually goes for. There's quite a few Microsoft games for Game Boy Color. This particular one, you're looking at about 50 to 60 pounds for this one, for the Best of Entertainment pack, which includes Ski Free. There's also a puzzle compilation, which goes for quite a lot less. But yeah, the one with Ski Free, you're looking like pretty much 50 to 60 pounds.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Probably because of the popularity of Ski Free, to be honest. I
Yeah, I
mean, I,
mean,
I I doubt anyone's picking that up to play like solitaire and stuff like that.
it's a lot of people remember this fondly. I mean, I think even at launch it was pretty well received. But yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend people check this out. Go to his website, read everything on there. It's all really interesting. The website is ski.ihoc.net. I definitely think this is worth checking out. You know, the the controls feel a little wonky, but it takes you all of like 3 minutes to do a run.
Yeah, it is. It is a very short game. Just something that I noticed actually on the website. I'd never clicked on the shop tab before. Um, there's quite a bit of merch. Um,
Really? Oh
yeah,
wow.
yeah, yeah. You can get baby pajamas. You can get t-shirts, hoodies. You can get mugs with all of them have the abominable snowman on.
That is funny.
If I as far as merch goes as well, that's fairly affordable prices as well.
Yeah, I mean that's not bad.
I would have to pay quite a lot of shipping, I would have thought, but if you are in the US, then I'm sure that wouldn't be that much of an issue.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, you're probably right that the shipping over there would be ridiculous. Okay, so he's got like a mug and some posters.
Okay, maybe don't click on the stickers and flair section. Um, yeah, maybe don't
Okay.
buy any of those. But the rest of it, yeah, if you want like official ski free merch, then yeah, that's the thing you can buy.
Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. So if you want to have a semi obscure, well, I wouldn't say semi obscure, but if you want to have a shirt with a character that most people under a certain age won't recognize.
Yeah,
But
as well as some very fetishy stickers
yeah,
from the same page.
but yeah, I mean, bottom line, check it out. It's, if nothing else, it's an interesting story. I don't know that I could recommend buying the Game Boy version when you can play multiple versions of it for free.
Yeah, like officially endorsed by the developer as well.
Yeah, so definitely check this out. It's worth 5 minutes. Uh, so I think that's about all we have for that one. So we'll take a quick break and then come back and finish up.
Okay.
So that's it for today. Got a little bit of a winter special, I suppose. We actually just got out of a lot of winter weather here. It was very, very cold, and then it was, back in the, I guess it would be the 30s for y'all.
Oh, it's still cold here, very much so.
Yeah, it is. So it like it was cold again this morning, but for the past couple of days, it's been like, not even a light jacket. But yeah, so that's all we have for today. If you've been listening, you know where to find us. So until next time, let's say goodbye.
Goodbye.